what I've been calling as the universe so far is Devi's womb, the Hiranyagarbha. When you as a woman, I can't just be strength-wise superior, because men are always, they are stronger than women inherently because of their nature. I need to have subtle powers, so I am able to prevent the violence from happening as much as possible even before it starts. To have the subtle divine feminine powers, to be able to foresee it and prevent it as much as possible. We start with the earth, Bhumi Devi. Then you connect to the earth, you put your feet there, get grounding. The electrons that Mother Earth wants to give all her children through the channels of the feet, they all get blocked when you wear shoes. Then we have Parvati Devi Maryada, which is being exposed to cold wind or cold water, the snow. Annapurneshwari Devi is eating before sunset and eating within an hour of waking up. Sapneshwari Devi Maryada, which you sleep on time, wake up without an alarm. You follow Rashmi Devi Maryada by looking at the sky and being present in sunlight, getting as much sunlight as possible on your skin and your eyes.
Now, with sunlight already, what are the consequences of not connecting to Devi through the sun?
Yeah, there are serious consequences for that. That causes all kinds of malfunctioning in the body, because light is the main communication between the cells. And if we don't have these light connections, then there is a mismatch in the signaling. And this is what causes all kinds of diseases like PCOS and diabetes and heart-related issues, liver-related issues, Alzheimer's even. All these brain-related, so all brain-related, gut-related and other internal organ-related issues. Anything can happen in the body. The adharma that comes in through the form of Kalli, right? The embodiment of this darkness and inner rot is Kalli. That's what we easily come under the influence of when we do not get enough sunlight.
So for someone who is ignorant or simply unaware of Devi's presence through the 5 elements, the sun, the moon, the planets, our solar system, is there any hope?
Devi has karuna, which is compassion, and she also has this thing called the creator's debt, because she is the creatress and we are her children. So she's indebted to taking care of us. And she knows this, and she wants also to do it. And she will keep challenging them with different things until they finally realize that
Quick heads up before we continue, I just launched the official Twisted Reality newsletter. If you're someone who resonates with what I explore on this channel, then you're going to love this. It's where I share the deeper stuff, the stories, the insights, and the uncomfortable questions that don't always make it into videos. If that sounds like something you want to be part of, you can join the newsletter using the link in the description below. I'd love to see you there.
all the Dasa Mahavidyas, she is one of them as well. But she also embodies all the other 10 Mahavidyas, like the great essences of wisdom.
Okay, 10 essences of wisdom, that's what, and Ma Kali specifically? Or is it that every goddess embodies all 10?
No, she embodies all 10. And the Lalita Tripura Sundari Devi also embodies all 10. This is what I know of it as of now. Yeah. The other goddesses are at different stages of the Vidyas. And I mean, they are also, each of them is a Mahavidya. So, but Goddess Kali is one of the supreme forms, and Lalita Tripura Sundari Devi is also one of the supreme forms.
And the stones, the malas that she has, is there a specific stone that you would?
So one is a Rundamala. Right now it's made up of, it should be made of bone, but it's made up of one of the stones here, and that's the garland of skulls, which is basically the representation of the death of ego and the death of all things that are preventing oneself from following the right path of dharma. And the other one is rubies, which all the Devis really like. So it's just it's a symbol of Devi's auspicious energy and luxurious energy, abundance and wealth. Yeah. So Kali is ferocious and looks really scary for some people, but she also has this luxurious, auspicious aspect because she has that energy, even if it's not represented in the traditional ways of opulence of jewels and all that, but Kali still embodies that auspiciousness in her own way.
Wonderful. Well, for today's topic, for today's podcast, I had the topic of the forgotten wisdom of the feminine body. And today's conversation for me personally is not just about women's health. It's about remembering the sacred intelligence of the body. And our guest today is Meenakshi Piplani. I hope I say that right. And so I brought her today to share with us about her exploration of the Devi Maryadas and Mahavidyas. So thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you, Stephen. It's an honor to share knowledge about Devi, and your audience, based on what you shared, they are looking to learn more. They're hungry to learn more about the divine feminine. And Devi, of course, always wants people to know more about her and who she is and all the things that she's doing in this world. So, because we are all her children, and she wants us to know who their mother is, who our mother is. So, I hope I can communicate, transmit some of that energy on your channel today to your listeners.
Absolutely, yeah. And I would love for you to give us a little bit of background. If was Devi something that was always present for you, and what changed in you after that encounter?
Yeah, no, Devi was not always apparently in my presence at all. Like, even the word Devi, I only heard it in my house from my parents sometimes. Like, my grandmothers, they talked about her stories, my father's mother and my mom's mother. But they didn't really tell me how she is relevant to me in my modern life. It was just in the form of Puranas, in the form of our Itihasa, like the history of India, and from the Puranas. They told me stories when I was a child, like of Durga and Durga Devi and Saraswati Devi. But my grandmothers didn't tell me how I can use that knowledge in my life today. And before that, and until then, and even for a very long time after that, I believed that the universe is the supreme being. And the universe is what I called the Hiranyagarbha. What I've been calling as the universe so far is Devi's womb, the Hiranyagarbha. So that was the extent of my conscious awareness of Devi, that is in the form of her womb, the Hiranyagarbha, who I called the universe.
Your path was already spiritual even before, in the sense of you looking at the universe and seeing that there is something bigger than you.
Yes, certainly. I've written a lot of things like poetry. From my perception, I see it as poetry, and it was about the universe. And yeah, so that I was always spiritually inclined, no doubt about that. Because I knew as a woman I can't just be strength wise superior, because men are always, they are stronger than women inherently because of their nature. So I knew that I cannot defeat them there. If I have any people who are attacking me, any guys who attack me out on the streets, then I need to have subtle powers. So I am able to prevent the violence from happening as much as possible, even before it starts. And if it does come down to it, then I will have the skills to fight. That's the physical part. But to have the subtle divine feminine powers to be able to foresee it and prevent it as much as possible and solve it in a non-violent way before it even begins.
I think those subtle powers might be very inspiring and interesting for people, and I think that will be a very interesting topic to speak about. But I feel that before those subtle powers comes like the basic understanding of what it takes for us to establish the connection first, right?
Yeah, so we start with Devi and build that connection with Devi at a more physical level. At a more obvious level, you connect to the earth, you put your feet there, get grounding, you get Rashmi Devi Maryada. You follow Rashmi Devi Maryada by looking at the sky and being present in sunlight, getting as much sunlight as possible on your skin and your eyes. So all these photoreceptors are there in the gut and the skin and in the eyes. You detect light with that, and Devi will bless you with knowledge also when you look upon it not just as a quantum biology practice, but as an honoring of the Devi, the divine feminine present in the sun itself. So that's the aspect which the quantum biologists are not aware of, to actually give agency and sentience, awareness of the sentience of the divine feminine in all these celestial bodies that we call the sun and the stars and the moon.
So that's
starting with Devi Maryada.
Rashmi Devi.
Yes, that's Rashmi Devi.
And when you say Maryada, maybe for those who are not familiar with the word itself and what it means, can you share a bit about what is Maryada and then what is Devi Maryada in general?
Yeah, so Maryada is to honor, Maryada is to follow dharma, to respect the Devi in this case, Devi Maryada. Maryada is to be in the right frame with our goddesses in this case. When we follow Devi Maryada, we're in the right frame with Devi. Now, the right frame is something that we can have when we answer the 4 questions. Who are we in this role? Who is the other person? What are we doing together? And where are we? And when we are aware of all these answers to these 4 questions, and the other person or the other being is also in agreement with us about these 4 answers to these 4 questions, then we are in the frame. Because they also agree with us that, yeah, goddesses agree. In this case, Devi Maryada, Rashmi Devi is like, yeah, I want to touch all of you with my sunlight and my sun rays, and because I care about all of you living on earth. So that's the frame. I'm giving you all those blessings through light. And we are in the frame of a humble sadhak who wants to honor that love that we are receiving from her and give space for that love and care that Rashmi Devi wants to give us. And so we are like this humble sadhak receiving that grace. And then what we're doing together is, she's teaching us through light, giving us wisdom through light. And where are we? We are on earth and following the Devi Maryada. So that's the frame. Yeah. But we can't do it without being aware that she also wants us to have this. Yeah. Then we have Parvati Devi Maryada, which is being exposed to cold wind or cold water, to snow. That will give us, a lot of exposure to cold, allows our mitochondria to really revamp itself and multiply, because the mitochondria starts disfiguring and stretching out while it converts all our food that we eat into energy. That's basically the function of the mitochondria, where it gets overused and overspent because of the radiation and because of the carbohydrates that we're eating, because of deuterium in water. The mitochondrial cycles and little chains of the gears inside the mitochondria start malfunctioning. But cold exposure, Parvati Devi Maryada, basically honoring the cold. So Parvati Devi is the wife of the consort, the divine consort of Shankarnath, Shiva, and she is the daughter of Himavan, who is the king of the Himalayas, the snow-clad mountains in Tibet and China and India and Pakistan, Afghanistan. So he's the king of all these mountains and she is his daughter. And so she blesses us with this capacity to flourish even in the cold and benefit from it also by honoring her. When we honor her, we can have access to that.
You mentioned sunlight and cold. Now, with sunlight already, there's a lot of people, especially in India, who have the judgment that if they are going to darken, that nobody will marry them or their family will judge them. So this is something that I see a lot of, especially Indians, avoid. In the West, it's kind of the opposite. Everybody wants to become dark. A lot of people, at least, that I know. So I'm wondering, like, what are the consequences, or if there are any, for someone who is listening to the social paradigm of don't get dark, and does not go into the sun. Like, what are the consequences of not connecting to Devi through the sun?
Yeah, there are serious consequences for that because when we do not receive vitamin D also naturally, for example, vitamin D is just one of the things that people know the sun gives. It gives us a lot of other nutrients and minerals. It stimulates in our body and it gives basically light information, which is the main thing that we need, which is basically the main communication channel between the brain and the gut and the rest of the body. And if we don't have these light connections, then there is a mismatch in the signaling. And this is what causes all kinds of diseases like PCOS and diabetes and heart-related issues, liver-related issues, Alzheimer's even, all these brain-related harms. So all brain-related, gut-related and other internal organ-related issues, anything can happen in the body when there is darkness inside and there is like internal decay going on. Basically, inner rot. The adharma that comes in through the form of Kalli, right? We are in Kali Yuga. And the embodiment of this darkness and inner rot is Kalli, which is this asur. It's like a malevolent force which is predominant in Kali Yuga. And that's what we easily come under the influence of when we do not get enough sunlight. Because the sunlight illuminates us not only from the outside on the skin, but from the inside and strengthens all our light channels. And these are the channels that we call where bioelectricity flows, and we call them nadis also in yoga. So, can you hear me? Are you stuck, Stephen? Yeah. Yeah. So
Wow.
basically, all these problems that you're facing with the recording, today, it's because of this. This knowledge is so important, and it'll be difficult to get it out there because there's all these malevolent forces in this age, right? So that's why it's so difficult. But
Wow.
you're doing this, even if it's like 1.5 hours late. Yeah. So that's how it happens.
Wow, this is incredible. First of
Yeah.
all, what you said, that we are basically light beings, and we are information from the outside. The light is entering us, and then that is changing us, changing ourselves. So all these lights that are not sunlight, they also carry certain information with them. So those people who are not going out in the sun are most likely spending a lot of time in front of these lights or the screen. And
Yes.
so that information goes into your cells instead of the
Yeah.
sunlight.
Yes. That's right. And that causes all kinds of malfunctioning in the body because light is the main communication between the cells. And basically, when someone has increased or become overweight, it's basically there's a problem with the communication between the light receptors that are getting light in the mind. The hypothalamus, around the hypothalamus, there is the leptin checker, like it checks how much leptin is there in the body, and the amount of leptin and the sensitivity to that leptin lets us know how much we should eat and how much we should not eat. It controls the appetite. So even if one is underweight or one is overweight, so I was underweight for some time, and quite some time, and I basically was living in Europe. Even though I have an Indian skin tone, I was living in Europe and I wasn't getting enough sunlight. And I was in the north of Europe for a long time. So that caused my body to not have enough appetite, and so I wasn't eating enough, and so I had a lot of I was a bit underweight. I was not heavily underweight, just a bit underweight, but it wasn't helping me perform even mentally that well. Like right now, I'm able to teach people and able to do a lot of things because I'm getting a lot of sunlight, the Indian level of sunlight, which is really high. The number of lux in the unit of measuring light in India is much higher, the number of lux here in India, than it is in Europe. But the ones living in Europe who are from there, that works for them. But for me, I need more because my body is built for more. And I wasn't getting enough. But once I came back to India. I lived in the north of India for like a few months, and I got 5 hours of sunlight every day, mountain sunlight. And that really reset my leptin. And then I was able to, my appetite returned the way it used to be. And then I started eating the amount I need to eat to regain the weight I needed to have right, proper functioning for my dharma. Have enough energy and enough mental capacity to perform my dharma accurately, which is making the right choices that make my heart stronger, basically. That's dharma, right? The right path is whatever makes my heart stronger and makes me flourish mentally and physically and emotionally. So people, if they don't get enough sunlight, then they're not able to make their heart stronger. They're not able to make decisions that actually support them. They make decisions like sitting on a tree and cutting that same branch, like Kalli used to do. So it's one of the stories of, this guy who sits on the tree and cut the same branch he's sitting on, because he didn't have that grace. He didn't have the divine grace. He wasn't maybe getting enough sunlight, I don't know. But it's just a metaphor for people doing things that harm themselves, making poor choices that harm their own heart and that make them weaker. So that's the latest lesson that Guruji is teaching is this. We should do things that make our heart stronger, make choices that make our heart stronger, and increase the protective field that comes from the heart. Our heart's energy field should be so vast that it envelops the entire planet, all the way to the North Pole and the South Pole. And if we do that, then we think of the whole planet as our family, which is another principle we have in the Indian scriptures, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that the whole world is my family. So actually, it probably includes the whole universe, but we start with the earth, and at least start with your own community, your own neighborhood, your own tribe, and increase your energy field by making the right choices and increasing your energy. Get energy from Devi, get her grace, make the right choices so you can keep her grace, and have frames so you don't leak that energy in thoughts that are, whatever. People have all kinds of thoughts in terms of greed or lust, anger, grief, all these things. So those are the external shells, the darkness, inside which there is always light. Yeah, but we don't have enough energy to break through the darkness and reach the light. And for that, we need the sun, and we need the earth grounding. We need water. We need to go and swim in rivers. We need to expose ourselves to cold. Yeah.
So we had Rashmi Devi, sunlight. Then we had Parvati Devi, the cold. Now you mentioned water.
Yeah, water, Narayani Devi.
Narayani Devi. Yeah. Then
Bhumi Devi, that's food. Grounding. Yeah, that's Annapurneshwari Devi. That's the earth.
Okay, that's
grounding.
5.
Yeah, Annapurneshwari Devi is eating before sunset, and eating within an hour of having the sunrise. So the body knows that there is some kind of comfort, especially for women. They should eat immediately, like within an hour of the sunrise, because at least give some fat, like ghee or paneer or something that's protein rich and fat rich, so the body feels taken care of. Even those who are overweight, they should do this, because then the body will balance out the food intake for the rest of the day if it starts the food intake early. Yeah, and the sixth one is Sapneshwari Devi Maryada, which you sleep on time, wake up without an alarm. Yeah, that's something that has been on and off for me. Sometimes I've not been able to follow it strictly. So, but the others I've been doing as much as possible consistently. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to go into each a little bit deeper. I think like maybe we can start with Bhumi, the earth. Like how do we honor her?
We can, do sparsha of Bhumi Devi, like put our feet on the earth, on the soil, not be disgusted by that, not wear footwear all the time and shoes all the time. You go to parks, you're wearing rubber soles, you can't touch the earth then. You're just blocking all connection, because the rubber is an insulator of electricity. The electrons that Mother Earth wants to give all her children through the channels of the feet, they all get blocked when you wear shoes. A lot of people in India going to the parks wear shoes or wear slippers. It's best to remove those. And at home, definitely remove your footwear. Don't have rubber soles. Rubber is blocking the electricity. So when you're outside, if you're wearing leather soles, then leather is a channel.
Incredible. What if there's no sun visible? In many European countries, we have 5 to 6 months that are mostly cloudy and rainy. And even in India during monsoon, for more than a month, it's mostly cloudy.
You do get sunlight even through the clouds. It's not like it's entirely gone, but it's less. So at this time, you can expose yourself to cold more. Like for the people living in the north, in cold places, when they don't have sun for a long time, they can be out there in the snow, for example, or reduce the number of layers and just expose themselves to cold. Similarly, in India, we can expose ourselves to cold. Like early morning here in the monsoon time, it is kind of chilly, so we expose ourselves to that. You can make a ice tip for yourself. That'll definitely charge up the mitochondria and help you release light internally. The UVC light from inside, it will come out. So the sun, receiving sunlight from outside versus getting your own light particles inside you to charge up and reflect light from inside to outside. Yeah, so that's a good alternative to sun exposure. Hmm. 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 Yeah.
So for someone who is ignorant or simply unaware of Devi's presence through the 5 elements, the sun, the moon, the planets, our solar system, is there any hope?
Devi has karuna, which is compassion, and she also has this thing called the creator's debt, because she is the creatress and we are her children. So she's indebted to taking care of us. And she knows this and she wants also to do it. So she is doing it. But the ones who are not aware of this being who is bigger than them, from whom they can get nourishment, They're obviously ignorant as of now. They're ignorant of Devi's presence. And so that's because Devi wants it that way also. Devi is like, okay, let's see how long they will stay like this. And she will keep challenging them with different things until they finally realize that this was a miracle. Whatever happened in their life was a miracle, and that there is something beyond themselves, which they do not know yet, that they feel now the hunger to know, get to know. And that's when they will start to have faith, Shraddha, and to surrender to something that is bigger than themselves. So, yeah, in Sanatan Dharma, it's not that we look down upon atheism. We also have it within, like Nastik. It's called being Nastik. So Devi also is aware of these people, and she knows that. And she, if she wants, she can bless anyone to change that and have faith in her. But that's not how she works. She wants the person to grow into that, to realize the importance of this superior being who they can rely upon, who they can have faith in for themselves, to grow into that awareness. So that person has to want to help themselves.
If you enjoyed this episode so far, let me know down in the comments below. If you've got any value from it, leave a like. And in the next episode, we will speak about Narayani Devi. How does water become sacred again? And finally, Kalli Devi. This one really surprised me, how even the way we manage time can honor or disrespect the feminine principle. And if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down as well, so I can bring it up in the next episode, and I'll see you there.